Small arms are needed, but domestic production is currently playing a huge role as well. In the Kharkiv region, where the occupiers have thrown significant forces into capturing Kupiansk and Vovchansk, Ukrainian vampires are literally bleeding the enemy dry. But right now the weather is not on our side. In the east, there are dense fogs almost every day, and Russian assault troops are trying to slip through our positions. A war correspondent will tell us about the fighting in the Kharkiv region, Ruslan Smeshchuk.
These are shots of the 58th Brigade's aerial drone unit at work. Right now, their specialists are defending Kupiansk and Vovchansk, the most dangerous sections of the front in the Kharkiv region.
The General Staff of the Russian Federation has already reported to Putin that Kupiansk has been taken. This does not correspond to reality. Fighting for Kupiansk is still ongoing. There is fighting in the city. The main efforts of the Ukrainian defense forces, I am focusing on timely detecting sabotage and reconnaissance groups that, in small units, are trying to infiltrate every house. Near Vovchansk, the enemy continues to push the defense forces back across the Vovcha River. They can't take the city of Vovchansk head-on, so now they're trying to outflank Vovchansk from the sides.
It takes us about 10 minutes in total, from deployment to the moment of takeoff. Everyone here is simply responsible for their own part. Everyone knows everything that's happening, everything that's being done, but each person carries out their own separate actions.
Moreover, this kind of foggy weather often helps the enemy approach unnoticed, right up to the Ukrainian positions.
So it's bad for everyone. Right now, only the sabotage and reconnaissance groups are operating on their side because that's the most effective. Speaking for myself, the weather allows you to get as close as 30 meters and no one will see you. And any equipment like thermal imagers and everything else, even Mavics, FPV drones, they don't fly because they can't see anything.
This is one of the crews operating the heavy Vampire drones. But they're not ordinary because these men are volunteers, former infantrymen and assault troops. As part of one of the DFV units, they have been fighting since the very beginning of the full-scale invasion, took part in the counter-offensive in the Zaporizhzhia region, and only relatively recently retrained as drone operators. Victor, with the call sign Harry, because he resembles the younger British prince, says that the skills and qualities of an assault trooper are also useful in this frontline specialty.
Intense concentration, constant deliberate eye movement, watching for possible obstacles or threats. Secondly, and perhaps most importantly, a profound sense of unwavering confidence in yourself during the intensity of assault operations. Being absolutely certain and resolute in your critical decisions and judgments.
The men have already completed dozens of combat missions during which they have made over 1,000 sorties. A crew with such a drone does a great deal for the defense.
We handle logistics, delivering supplies to infantry positions. We also handle mining, various types of mining, both anti-personnel and remotely triggered mines.
Even barbed wire?
Yes, but only when it's fully deployed, not just bundled up. Yes, we deploy it fully and set it up completely. And
this is done with drones?
Yes. And we also handle strikes. Various types of strikes, up to the border and even beyond. We fly across. Our longest range was 21.5 kilometers. And
that's dozens of eliminated enemies and just as many destroyed enemy combat vehicles.
Confirmed hits. If we're talking about enemy personnel, there are definitely more than 15 confirmed. It's just that the Vampire is a machine where you can't really count everything. We mostly target buildings, some basements, we bury infantry, and that's it. Everything there gets completely buried in the end. As for equipment, it's also around 20 units. In the summer, we had a hellish assault on our positions in the Kharkiv direction. There, basically, their vehicles were moving, a whole column was coming, and we started taking apart the MTLBs with infantry inside. And
did you take out the whole column? Well,
completely, yes.
But that's when the weather is better than it is now. And while there are no combat sorties, the guys are busy servicing the drones. They even meet with high school students, introducing them to their work. And in the Battalion of Unmanned Systems itself, they are always waiting for motivated people, because everyone can find a position here that matches their skills and interests.
In our Battalion of Unmanned Systems, there is a constant need to increase our forces and resources. As of today, the most in-demand positions are external pilots, operators, drivers and technicians and squad commanders. For our part, we guarantee full basic military training, professional training, proper financial support and social guarantees, as well as the opportunity to choose your position and career growth.
From the Eastern Front, Ruslan Smeshchuk, Vadim Rolun and Oleg Kukarsky. Details on Inter TV channel. The United News Marathon?
The United Kingdom has announced sanctions against the Russian military intelligence agency known as the GRU. This happened after the release of the final report of the British investigation into the death of British citizen Don Sturgis, who was poisoned with a military-grade nerve agent. According to a British government statement, the investigation concluded that Putin personally ordered the use of Novichok to poison a former Russian military intelligence officer. Thank you, Sergei Skripal. But as a result of the incident, British woman Sturgis died. London also summoned the Russian ambassador over Moscow's ongoing campaign of hostile activities. According to the British government, GRU agents act on Putin's orders, seek to destabilize Ukraine and attempt to sow chaos and disorder throughout Europe. A lightning-fast special operation by Ukrainian special forces in Crimea. Special forces operatives from the Gurprimari unit destroyed a Russian MiG-29 fighter jet. This happened at the Kacha military airfield. That same night, our intelligence officers struck the Irtysh radar complex near Simferopol. Intelligence emphasized that they are systematically destroying enemy air defense and aviation on the peninsula. Let me remind you, in September, this same unit burned 2 rare amphibious aircraft. Shaheds are now capable of launching missiles. Russia has used a drone with an R-60 air-to-air-guided missile for the first time. Ukrainian air defense forces managed to bring down such a device. The new version of the Shahed is faster and most likely experimental. However, what was the enemy targeting? What danger do drones with missiles on board pose, and how can we protect ourselves from them? Mikhailo Menelyuk found out all of this. The Russians are actively ramping up the production of attack drones. According to the Ministry of Digital Transformation, in just September and October, the occupiers used nearly 11,000 UAVs against Ukraine, including Shaheds. And it is these drones that the enemy is constantly improving. They are being equipped with jet engines, remote control, and now these drones will also be able to launch missiles.
They're dangerous, but it's not a major threat because, firstly, these missiles are old. Secondly, they have very limited capabilities to be launched from a Shahed.
Russia has used a drone with an air-launched guided missile for the first time.
An R-60 air-to-air missile.
These frames show the moment such a device was shot down. According to aviation experts, most likely the enemy has started hunting Ukrainian helicopters and planes.
The range of this missile, if we're talking about for heat-seeking locked-on targets, the rear hemisphere of the aircraft is about 4 to 5 kilometers. If it's the front hemisphere of the aircraft or helicopter, then it's about 1.5 to 2 kilometers. In reality, this is an old Soviet missile. It was only partially effective, and it has certain issues with its homing head.
Experts note that this version of the Shahed is still experimental for now. Moreover, the launcher on the drone is installed incorrectly, so the missile is unlikely to be able to launch and pursue its target.
What we saw is that the missile is located on top of the structure itself. What does this tell us? If we're talking about an aviation pylon, the APU-60, it's a pylon that allows for a free fall release of the munition. It's not a catapult, it simply releases the missile. It drops a few centimeters, the engine ignites, and then it continues to pursue its target. In this case, in this configuration, the missile is locked onto the Shahed. Therefore, at this point, it's impossible to talk about using the missile directly as a means of attack.
Even if the Russians managed to activate the R-60's engine, the exhaust would burn through the Shahed's body, aviation experts note. Moreover, a drone equipped with such weaponry won't be able to fly in the so-called swarm of strike drones. As a result, it will be easy to detect using radar. In turn, Ukrainian aviation will have to fire off more flares to lure the missile into them.
The old Soviet missile will react to all the flares. Apparently, it will be necessary to install additional batteries to minimize this risk. Previously, on radars, the smaller the target, the smaller the blip it produced. It will look different on radars because it acts as a corner reflector.
The R-60 missile carries only 3 kilograms of explosives, so it poses a threat only to airplanes and helicopters. Russia stole the scheme of using drones with missiles from Ukraine, in particular when unmanned seaboats successfully struck enemy warships.
But there we realized that they don't work against aircraft, those old Soviet missiles. And here it's just a dumb warhead. Wherever there's a bigger heat source, that's where it will go. Moreover, for every Shahed equipped with a missile, that's one less that can hit our infrastructure targets.
It's possible that cameras were installed on the downed drone with the missile, and this device was being directly operated by an operator from Russian territory. Perhaps the enemy was hoping that Ukrainian fighter jets or helicopters would crash into this drone themselves. Be that as it may, for Army aviation, which is currently attacking enemy UAVs, this still remains a threat that must be dealt with, including with the help of interceptor drones, which are proving their effectiveness.
Right now, we are working towards achieving the target that the president has already announced, which is to have 1,000 interceptors per day. We are, let's say, moving towards this goal quite confidently.
Interceptor drones are currently one of the most effective ways to destroy all types of Russian UAVs.
The enemy is trying in every possible way to weaken Ukrainian air defense. They are testing different configurations, experimenting chaotically and brutally. They are constantly trying out options and looking for ways to turn their drones into effective weapons. Recently, the Russians used a Shahed drone with online control to attack a mobile fire group. Mikhailo Menelyuk, Valentin Bilic. Details on the Intermarathon TV channel. United News.